In this video I will bring you along a day trip to Kyoto. Equipped with my Leica M10, plenty of photography spots planned out ahead of time, but also some surprises. Let's see what we can find. We just arrived in Kyoto and tourism is insane, honestly. So many people here. But I totally get why Kyoto is banning tourists for some areas, because people are going nuts here. So crowded, so packed. And well, I'm guilty as charged because I'm one of them right now. After arriving in Kyoto, we started the day with a hearty breakfast to strengthen ourselves for the long day ahead. I've been to Kyoto before doing my first Japan trip in 2018, so some of the typical tourist spots like the Imperial Palace or the Golden Temple were not on my list this time. Instead, we had a couple of other spots planned out, but it would certainly be a tight schedule. Just upon arrival at the Saga Arashiyama train station for our first stop, I got my first warm-up shots in. The train station had these beautiful panorama windows, and the contrast of dark silhouettes on the inside and bright nature on the outside piqued my interest. These might not be the most spectacular images, but I would say we're off to a good start. Our first stop was the Arashiyama bamboo forest, but just before entering the forest area, we found a stall with a funny snack we just had to try.
Cucumber on a stick.
It was pretty refreshing and surely the healthiest but also weirdest snack I had so far.
Is this R-rated though, if I post it on YouTube?
I don't really know why, but as we were walking around the touristy food stalls, for some reason I suddenly had the idea to shoot with a long shutter speed and work in some motion blur. This is nothing I do regularly, but I like the images quite a lot actually. I think the motion blur helps to transport the busyness and the chaos that I felt while being confronted with the sheer amounts of tourists here. And no, it doesn't get better than this, but as soon as we entered the forest area, there were still people everywhere. But the crowds of people didn't really break the magic of this place. Being surrounded by hundreds of these impressively high bamboo trees was indeed magical. Even though it wasn't a particularly sunny day, the light coming through the dense trees had an interesting softness to it that I found very pleasing. The images I took here are not as impressive and probably similar to the images most tourists take here. But I tried capturing a mixture of the rare moments without any people in the frame and some images leaning into street photography, capturing tourists taking selfies.
Ik stel gewoon voor om hier heel langzaam doorheen te lopen.
Ist der Inari noch weiter hochgehen, ne? Wie weit ist das denn?
I switched to my 15mm ultra-wide-angle lens at some point to capture the dimensions of the forest, and I think that here is where we start to get more interesting images. This one here, for example, is probably one of my favorite images from the day. The motion blur makes it dynamic and almost sketch-like, while still having enough detail to see the emotions from the rickshaw driver but also the passengers. On a little detour on the quieter streets of Kyoto now. And actually one of my favorite things to do is just go off-road and just check out the more quiet, more unknown spaces around, because the bamboo forest and the main touristy spots are just so overcrowded. It's not even fun anymore. But now, after seeing how much there is to see and to do in Kyoto, so far my biggest regret of the trip is to not stay here any longer. We just planned a day trip, but I think you can easily spend 4 or 5 days here. So if I ever come back, I'll definitely reserve some more time to, for staying in Kyoto actually. Since we only had one day to explore Kyoto, we of course wanted to make the most of it. And due to that, this day trip required a bit more planning than usual, as for example planning out the route but also the equipment and things to bring. And for that I used Milanote, who isn't only the sponsor of this video, but also an amazing tool I got very fond of lately. Milanote is a free tool for organizing your creative projects. And yes, you've heard right, you can sign up for free and try it out straight away. You only have to upgrade to a paid plan if you create a lot of boards. Milanote basically feels like a big canvas or notebook. It's an open workspace where you can freely visualize, organize, brainstorm and collaborate on ideas. I, for example, used Milanote to plan this day trip to Kyoto, but also the YouTube video you are watching right now. Here I was able to gather all of my research information for the trip about destinations I wanted to see. It's also possible to add Google Maps links to see the entire route in one glance. And what particularly helped me to plan this trip from a photographic side is that you can add images, links, colors or arrows in no time, which helped me to pre-visualize the type of images and scenes I wanted to look out for. Milanote offers so much flexibility that I've also used it for other projects, like a future zine idea. I plan to bring out a zine about my Japan trip once I've scanned and edited all of my images, and Milanote is the perfect platform to work on it. I can throw in all of my images here, try out different pairings and sequencing, but also save inspirations and work on ideas for the title or design of the zine. The clipping feature especially is great because you can add images from the web without the need of copy-pasting or screenshotting them. In my opinion, Milanote is the ideal tool to plan shoots, YouTube videos, visual concepts, mood boards and so much more, and it also has over 100 built-in templates that can help to spark creativity when starting a new project. Therefore, I can surely recommend Milanote to every creative out there, and as I said before, it's free to use, so sign up for a free Milanote account by using the link in the description. And as important as it is to plan ahead, sometimes unexpected things shake up our plans, and this is also what happened that day. As we were sitting in the train to get to the next stop, I spotted something familiar. A big mecha robot figure throning over the roofs of the city.
I'm such a nerd. We are on the way to the Evangelion Kyoto base. And I love it, I'm so excited. Seriously, I feel like a child again. Yeah, we just passed it with the train and I was like, wait, this is a big Eva statue, so let's stop. Now we're here.
More precisely, it was Eva Unit 1 from my favorite anime, Neon Genesis Evangelion, so of course I had to convince my wife to allow for an extra quick stop at the Toei Kyoto Studio Park. Apart from us, the only other visitors were people dressed as samurai as well as entire school classes. Was it worth the entrance fee? No. Would I do it again? Absolutely yes. This detour wasn't really worth it from a photographic perspective, since I didn't get many images that are worth showing, but it made me very, very happy. Also, doing this detour had another positive side effect. It gave me more time on the suburban streets of Kyoto. Walking around random residential areas is one of my favorite things to do in different cities. For most of the time, you can spot quiet, empty scenes here, but sometimes these areas make for unexpected surprises. We, for example, encountered this moment here, where a truck was lifted up on the front side. I took a photo just as a cyclist was passing by, and I love how surreal and absurd this image looks. Another favorite of mine is this blurry person on a motorbike passing this row of posters.
Is it sweet? Is it savory? Nobody knows.
Being behind schedule, we finally made it to the second planned stop of the trip, the Fushimi Inari T Shrine, probably one of the most famous sites of Kyoto. This area is known for the insane amount of red-orange Tori Gates being so close to each other that they almost appear like a tunnel. In total, there's around 10,000 of these gates here leading up a hill. Just like at the bamboo forest, the sightseeing attraction of the Tori Gates itself wasn't as interesting to me photographically speaking. It is impressive to be there and experience it in person, but it's hard to take any other photos than the ones that you can find on postcards or on Google. So in the end, I didn't take many images of the gates itself, but rather of vending machines or other details around. Generally speaking, I find juxtapositions and breaches of patterns to be really interesting. Thus, in order to not take touristy images, I look for things that stand out like a sore thumb. These traffic cones or these miniature versions of the Tori Gates therefore also caught my attention.
Oh my god, we're so blessed. It was grey all day and they even predicted a little bit of rain, but it didn't rain. And also the sun came out just now. Maybe we'll get a nice sunset here as well, because every day, even though it was grey or raining, for the sunset the weather kind of turned around and we always had a nice sky in the evening. So experiencing this here would be a real dream.
Almost as if predicted, the sky turned into beautiful golden glowy colors as we were on the way back. The light was exactly up my alley and I also found some more interesting scenes to shoot. As we were walking down the hill on the way to the main shrine, we passed some trucks and stalls where people were closing up their businesses. Photographing people at work is something I always felt very drawn to, and I actually really liked the light in this scene of the workers packing up. Just a few meters away, another guy packed up his booth, so I took a couple of more shots here. I think I actually prefer the second image from a few steps back, because I like the motion of the hand catching him mid-throw. At the end of the alley, I've also spotted this gentleman sitting in his shop all by himself. I really like this one because it transports a feeling of solitude and nostalgia. The real question is though, are you really done with a day of photography without taking any photos at the train station? Train stations and liminal spaces in general have this specific atmosphere to them, which is why I always keep my camera close when commuting. And while I was shooting images of the train station with the last remaining light, I spotted this scene here where you could see the big entry gate through one of the open windows at the staircase of the station. I wish I would have waited for the person in the frame to get a bit more to the left in order to isolate him more from the trees, but nonetheless I think this is a great shot to end the night, but also this video. Therefore, I hope this video was of interest to you. Thanks so much for watching and see you in the next one.